Life is an amazing podcast, and it is presented and hosted by myself, Caro, and my sweet dog Sparky. Give it up for him. I hope you're ready. Enjoy. And yes, we're back for another episode of Go For Your Life. And today I'm super excited because I have my friend Keri on the other side. From England, and she has a beautiful English-British accent. People, get ready for that. And we're going to talk a little bit about music, the love for music and yoga. And I also think that Keri is an amazing person in how to reinvent yourself. So, Keri, welcome.
Hello, I'm super excited. Thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast.
It's a pleasure
Lovely
to have
to speak to you. Thank you.
Pleasure. So I know who you are, but tell us a tiny little bit about yourself. Like, where do you live? Who are you? Just a little introduction.
Sure. So I live in London. I live in West London, not far from infamous Notting Hill, which is a super cool place to hang out. So I'm now a Jiva Mukti teacher, and I also teach Yogasana. But I wasn't always a yoga teacher, and I wasn't always into yoga. So yeah, I guess I have reinvented myself a little bit. Yeah. I used to be a PR. I used to run big PR campaigns for brands, restaurant brands, fashion brands. And I did that for a long time and loved it. And one of the things that I did within the sort of PR and comm spaces, I worked with a lot of musicians. So I worked in marketing and PR strategy with musicians for brands. I worked at a lot of festivals. I traveled the world. It was great. It was great, but it was very stressful, as a lot of jobs are, particularly in London. I was in the rat race, and it was stressful, although I loved my job. And I was introduced to yoga at a music festival. I tried yoga maybe a few years previous, and I really wasn't into it. I'm a very physical person. I love lots of exercise, running, boxing, all that kind of stuff on the treadmill. And I tried yoga, and it just wasn't for me. I found it really boring, and I fell asleep. However, fast forward years later, I was at a music festival, a festival called Snowbombing in the Austrian mountains in Meyerhofen. Not much skiing gets done; it's mainly sort of partying. And I was chatting to a guy who was helping his friend out at the festival, and he was telling me. His name is Andy. Shout out to Andy. How yoga had changed his mind. He was suffering from an illness, and how yoga had really helped him, and how he was actually training to be a yoga teacher. And I said, "Oh, that sounds great, but yoga is not for me." And he said, "Well, where do you live?" Because Andy's actually English, but living in Austria. And I said, "I lived in Notting Hill." And he said, "You know what? Obviously, you're into music. You're at this music festival," because I was at the music festival on a work capacity. And he said, "You must try Jiva Mukti yoga. And there's a Jiva Mukti yoga school in Notting Hill." And I was like, "Oh, actually, I walk past that Jiva Mukti yoga center, at least once a week, but I'd never considered it." And he was like, "Promise me when you get back, you'll try it, because not only is it, a great practice, sort of spiritually, emotionally, mentally, it's very physical, and you've got music. Music is a really big part of that, the practice." So I promised I would try Jiva Mukti yoga, went to the class, and it was the first time in forever that I was only focusing on what I was doing. I was absolutely in the moment. I had this amazing physical experience. It was a workout, and I don't like to use that so much in a yoga context, but it was. I was getting this really physical benefit.
Yeah.
But also, I was just focusing on my breath, and I came out of that class euphoric, this high that I'd really not felt, this natural high that can't remember ever feeling before. And I became hooked and I became addicted.
Yeah.
So, I practiced yoga, as much as I could, even went to yoga for the following few years. And then another turn of events happened. I ended up doing my yoga teacher training course, not to be a yoga teacher, just to, get more, to find out more about the practice, to deepen my knowledge of yoga, of Sanskrit, of the philosophy. And I was in beautiful Costa Rica, very, very lucky to be there. And after a week of practicing and training, I decided that's what I wanted to do, that I wanted to be a yoga teacher.
Yeah. And at this stage, you still have a corporate job, right? Like when you were doing that teacher training.
Yeah, that's right. I was still working in PR, running comms, and I wasn't unhappy doing what I was doing, but I just had this new calling. And what happened was the universe conspired, and I ended up leaving that job in a really, really great way, and pursuing my yoga career. So it was fantastic.
Yeah, because I think that especially also it's one of the reasons for me to even make this podcast, and it's the reason why it's called Go For Your Life. It's very much about what happened right there with you, like it's about like, I don't know, it's like this awakening you get, or this like sort of like for you to shift your life like that. That's what also I mean that you're so good in reinventing yourself. Like you did, right? Like there was a whole new life in front of you.
Yeah, it wasn't in one sense it happened so beautifully and so naturally. I did my yoga teacher training. I decided I wanted to be a yoga teacher. Things changed at work. I ended up leaving, but remaining really good friends with the company and being able to, not work for, a period of time where I could really focus on my yoga. However, there was something else going on, which was, believing in myself that I could do the transition, and, the brain and the monkey mind going, actually, what do you think you're doing? You're actually this. So you built this career in this, and being able to go, yes, I was this, I was a PR, and I was, really good in my career, and that was then, but this is now, and you can evolve into something else, but it takes an element of, well, not an element, a huge element of self-belief. And that was a journey for me to get to a point. I had massive imposter syndrome. I was like, I'm not good enough. What do you think you're doing? This is what you are. This is not what you are. So it took a bit of time to work through that. Yeah. And once you get through that, I was like, actually, this is what I need to be doing, because the pull was so strong. Yeah. The pull was so strong. It was undeniable that this was what I wanted to do, because when I was teaching, it felt so right. So I would say that, and I was surrounded by, luckily, people who were so encouraging, whether if it was my fellow yoga teachers or my family and friends, and they were like, yeah, no, this is, you definitely do it. Go for it. And I just took that leap of faith. But it isn't easy. It can be a bit sticky, but I would definitely encourage people, if they have this pull to explore it, because it was something that was coming from my heart. It wasn't an intellectual decision. Actually, it was just this feeling that I had to do it, because actually, intellectually, it wasn't a very sensible thing to do, to have a mortgage and quit a well-paid job in London and pursue the life of a yoga teacher. But I'm very happy that I did that.
Yeah, because I think what you're saying also with the monkey mind, or it's just noise, isn't it? Like in your head, that is just, and I think finding the silence in that and trying to, listen to the heart is a very important thing. I think what you're mentioning, for sure.
Yeah, and also, I felt I really wanted to give back, and in my previous role, I was lucky. I worked with a lot of musicians, and a lot of emerging musicians, and I worked on a malaria charity. So I was doing a lot of purposeful stuff, but I just teaching yoga to me was I got so much out of it. And it was, and I think that was the real pull. It just felt so purposeful. It felt like that was what I was meant to be doing.
Yeah.
So that was a kind of critical part for me, was being able to give something back, and then you give something, and then you get so much back in return as well.
And you always had this love for music, right? Like that's always been in your life.
Yeah, I'm not a musician, and my sister's a musician. She's a classical musician, but music has always been a really, really big part of my life. My parents were really into music. It was always music playing in the house. They were always going off to concerts, and a really broad taste in music was always. The record player was always on in my house. So, and I love music, and I feel that music is medicine. Music is definitely for good times and dancing around your handbag and having fun with your friends, but actually it's a lot more than that. And I feel that being able to work with music and yoga is just can be this amazing combination that really takes you on this euphoric journey. And so it has to be the right music, and that doesn't mean it's a narrow, it's just one sort of genre of music, but you have to really think about how the music works with the asana practice. But yoga is medicine and music is medicine, and I just think in a modern context, music can be a great thing to connect people. It's a common language. Everybody understands music. Everyone, most people love music. It might be, you might be into classical and somebody else might be into rock or electronic, but it's definitely a common language that I think could be used to sort of, to connect people and to connect people to the yoga experience as well.
Yeah, because you have a project called We Are Boogie Sound.
Yes.
And that's very much bringing music together with the yoga practice, right? In a setup with a DJ and everything.
Yeah, that's right. So, the thing that really attracted me to Jivamukti in the first instance, and the yoga is a journey and you get deeper and deeper into it as time goes along, was definitely the fact that music was played in the class. That really connected me, and and I felt that in my yoga teaching practice that I would really want to bring music to the fore. And so in all the experiences or sessions that I teach, music is a really key element. It doesn't overtake the yoga. The yoga is so important, and for me it can't be derivative in any way. It's or dumbed down in any way. The yoga is really, really important, and it's the key thing. But music as well is intrinsic. So I work with amazing DJs, but live musicians, classical musicians, and as I said, it's really about how the music works with the asana. What story are we trying to tell through the yoga practice, and how can music play a really instrumental part in that?
So you work with different musicians for this, like it's not just one specific DJ that works with you, right?
No.
We Are Boogie Sound is you with a musician or
that's
a DJ.
Right, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
And when did you start it?
So I started it about a year ago, and I had the idea, and a couple of DJs that I'd worked with in the past, and DJs that were also yogis, so they really understood the journey of a yoga practice, that you can't just slam on a record just because it's cool. You've got to really think about the poses and stuff like that. So I had a couple of DJs in mind. We got together, it worked, people loved it, because obviously it's not my experience. I'm the teacher. It is about how do people taking the class and what are they experiencing, how's it making them feel. So it's getting really good feedback, and just continue to work with different musicians.